Welcome to X's and Omar, presented by Gulfstream Park, alongside Sentinel Dolphins columnist Omar Kelly. I'm CBS 12 Sports Director Matt Lincoln, and we are here at wonderful, beautiful Gulfstream Park in Hallandale Beach. No time better in the year to be here when there's not racing going on, because there's so many other things going on here at Gulfstream Park. The Broward Fair is here.
Yeah, baby, I got to get me some cotton candy.
We were talking about that off camera. No, thank you. I can't believe you're into that stuff.
I love cotton candy. Why can't I enjoy cotton candy?
Because it's like, it doesn't
sugar.
even taste like food. I don't know. No, thank you.
It's sugar.
No,
don't you eat candy? Isn't that just sugar?
Yeah, but is there something about the texture of cotton candy?
What
makes you look at like a thing of cotton balls and say, I want to eat that?
The sweet, sugary substance that melts in your mouth.
Forget it. Forget it. We're wasting time. Everyone wants to talk about the abysmal Dolphins here, so let's get to them coming up here. But, of course, it's also Christmas time here at Gulfstream Park here in Hallandale Beach, so come on down and join us. You know, it hasn't been a lot of really meaningful games that the Dolphins have played against the Patriots late in the season, but infrequently is the Dolphins season over before they play them the first time. And that is what we're looking at right now. Wow. As Dolphins now 4-6 after a loss to the Buccaneers that, to be perfectly frank, we didn't see coming. We thought that the Dolphins were going to show up and win last week, and they did not.
I thought that Tampa Bay game was a must-win game for this team if you want to continue to masquerade yourself as a playoff contender. You know, you want to give yourself a chance to get above 500, and to see them come out and play a penalty-prone game, 17 penalties. One shy of tying for a franchise record. To see them play just another lackluster first half game. To see the game plan just be blah. To see the defense not perform or be efficient, especially in areas where you've struggled, like coverage of the tight ends. It leads me to get to the point where I'm wondering to myself, and out loud. What has been fixed that has been an issue that needs to be addressed? Has anything this season that has prevented you from playing good football been fixed? Because I could argue to you that the best game that the Miami Dolphins have played this season was their win over Atlanta.
Okay.
And really, that was just a Rashad Jones miracle. Because if Rashad hadn't pulled off that interception, then Matt Ryan would have done what good quarterbacks do and either rallied for a tie to take it to overtime or scored a touchdown. But Rashad put on his cape and played superhero, which rarely happens this season considering they only have 3 interceptions, and saved that game. But outside of that, can you say, and I can't even say that that was a good game or a good performance for the Dolphins, have they played good football? We're 10 games into the season. The Dolphins, have they played good football?
I think at times defensively they played well, and offensively here and there, but never together. Never together at the same time, coming together to get to put on a 100% solid performance. It hasn't been very good.
And even special teams. Yeah. We've looked over special teams throughout the history of Darren Rizzi's career here, and they usually pull out, get a win. If we're going to say, okay, sure, who did well today, special teams is always solid. They always do their job. Return games, blah. Penalties on special teams. Coverage is just okay. Sometimes the rookie punter is good. Sometimes he's bad. The kicker.
3 missed extra points.
It's like, mind-numbing. And that's the season.
Is this the knockout blow, this last loss? I mean, is this it? Is this there no hope? I think that mathematically we could get our mind around, even after they had lost 2 straight, we're looking like terrible. Well, it could still happen. After they lost 3 straight, okay, it could still happen. Now they've lost 4 straight. And you look and we can stare at the AFC playoff picture, for hours and kind of figure out. I mean, someone yesterday figured out a way for the Browns to still get in the playoffs. Okay, yes, mathematically we know the Dolphins are not totally knocked out of the playoffs, but why is there any hope that this is a team that can win their next 5 games?
Well, considering Vegas just absolutely slapped them in the face. 7.5 points.
Yeah.
That's biggest line of the week. possibly biggest line of the season.
17 and a half.
17 and a half now.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's just to encourage people to bet.
Yeah.
Who's really betting
No
on
one's
that
betting
game?
for the Dolphins.
If you're on a suicide pool, you're definitely playing this game.
Well, I mean, look at last week. They were underdogs at home to a 3-win Buccaneers team. And they proved they deserve to be.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the mess that is the quarterback position now.
Did you really call it a mess? Has it
know.
Has it been a mess or has it been mediocre?
Okay, it's been mediocre. I mean, Cutler certainly hasn't given a ton of reasons to be optimistic that. I mean, we know we've talked about his attitude since the beginning, but there's nothing in his attitude that's shown that he's been really into this season. When you look at his demeanor on the field,
He's a rental.
He's a rental, and he is acting like a rental.
Yes.
Matt Moore doesn't act like a rental.
What do you do when you have a rental? You just do you slow down
You're
on
like,
speed bump?
Oh, I wonder how fast I can get to 80 here on the highway. You do all sorts of crazy things.
We're not even slowing down on the speed bumps.
No,
We're just this isn't my
no,
car.
no,
I
it's
don't
not
give
my
a damn
car.
about
It's
it.
not my car.
And that's kind of how Jay Cutler has treated this team and this situation. And yeah, Adam Gase is his buddy as long as Jay Cutler's upright, not in a concussion protocol, which he is presently, so we have no idea if he's going to play against the Patriots. But then if I'm Jay Cutler and I might have a headache, I might not, do I really want to play against the Patriots in Foxborough?
No, you do not. You do not want to play.
With this team playing
That offensive line.
with, you might have to play without Jermon Bushrod. Like, do I really want to play against the Patriots? I might just have a headache on Friday.
You know what, though? I mean, it really depends on what type of person you are. Because if you are...
He's Jay
I
Cutler.
know. I'm just saying.
He is the face of the
It'd be nice.
apathetic quarterback.
Right. And what are we... And that's what we're going to always think about when we think about Jay Cutler's career.
He's come
Wouldn't
down
it be
here.
nice to put this cap on your career, some kind of remarkable comeback?
Even he said, I don't care about all that.
Yeah.
I don't care about my image. He didn't come down here to end his career on the right note. He came out here for $10 million, and he got that $10 million. The question I have for you, was that $10 million wisely spent?
No.
I personally
they needed
believe,
a quarterback.
yeah.
They needed a quarterback. They needed to put money into a quarterback because just going with Matt Moore and Brandon Doughty wasn't going to work.
Okay.
But, I mean, obviously now you look back, and I would love to have rolled the dice and hoped that Matt Moore would have been better than 4-6 by now.
I personally believe Matt Moore could deliver you a 4-6 record. It is what it is.
So it's a waste of $10 million. Okay, so Matt Ferrara, true or false, Matt Moore gets the start over a healthy Jay Cutler at least once this season.
I'm going to say no. And on that, I'm going to say false from this standpoint. I know the dynamic and the relationship that Jay Cutler and Adam Gase have. They're buddies. They're bros. Think about all the other buddies that Adam Gase has.
But at some point you say, you know what? It also matters the relationship between your quarterback and your receivers. And there is no doubt about it, that Matt Moore has a better relationship with Kenny Stills, possibly with Jarvis Landry.
Not with Devontae Parker.
No one has a relationship with Devontae Parker from a quarterback perspective. But
Yeah.
you can't tell me that Jay Cutler has a better relationship with those guys. You can't tell me that.
He doesn't, but he has a better mastery of the offense. I'm just putting on my Adam Gase hat right now. He has a better mastery of my offense.
You know what?
He has better pocket presence.
Screw that mastery of the offense. Because mastering this offense hasn't done anything. Okay, go out there and make football plays. Go out there and make football plays.
You mean just wing it like Matt Moore does?
What do they have a better chance of winning? How do they have a better chance of winning right now?
Matt Moore pulling it out of his butt.
282 yards of passing yards in the second half.
Well,
against
they were
the Tampa Bay
down. They were trailing. I'm giving you what the Matt Moore critics will say. They were down. Okay. They were trailing. Both of the games that he came into, they were trailing in the second half, and they had to be gunslinger. Well,
maybe they should run the offense like that.
Hey, it might work. I am a Matt Moore supporter. I am a Matt Moore fan. I know who he is and what he is. If he started this season, you're 8-8.
Yeah.
but you're kind of 8-8 right now. But
Now
I can tell
you're
you this.
6-10.
Yeah.
Okay.
The offensive production, it can't be ignored. I mean, you just look at these numbers right now. Matt Moore, he's completing nearly 2 yards per attempt more than Jay Cutler.
Yeah.
He's not completing a higher percentage of passes, but you know, Matt Moore has shown you that he can get the job done. He could score touchdowns, and the question is, will you trust him? And Adam Gase, the bottom line is, Adam Gase doesn't trust him.
I mean, that's the thing, and generally, I know this is part of our job, and generally, I don't like this part of my job. I don't try to do this that much, where we sit at this table underneath these pretty lights and this gorgeous Christmas tree and say that we know more about the Miami Dolphins in the locker room than Adam Gase does.
We do not.
And we don't.
But, give me the but.
There feels like some kind of, either it's a stubbornness or some sort of thing where I've just seen, we've seen awful Jay Cutler 80% of the time. It's awful.
70%.
It's awful 72% of the time. And I'm going to guess that you can get more good Matt Moore out of that.
You might be right. And we might be able to see it. Here's the unfortunate, uncomfortable spot. I'm a Matt Moore fan.
Yeah.
If Jay Cutler doesn't get out of the concussion protocol, more than likely Matt Moore is going to start. But you know what? He's not starting against the Denver Broncos.
I know. Yeah.
He's starting against the New England Patriots. That it's a
bad spot.
Their entire approach is to wait for you to make a mistake.
Yeah.
And Matt Moore will make mistakes. And then when you make a mistake, you're going to choke on your own saliva. That's how the Patriots play. They play a clean game. They'll dink and dunk you, drive the length of the field on 4 possessions, eating up 8 minutes of clock per possession, and just wait for you to make a mistake. And generally, they do. And teams do.
Yeah. Well, let's take our next question. We got to move on. Let's see. Christopher says, are you regretting the Cutler is better than Tannehill tweets now? I think Cutler should call it quits for good myself after watching this season unfold. Are you regretting?
I won't take it back because I'm basing it on what I saw in practice. Cleaner practice, better pocket presence, better arm. But what I do realize that I miss is the athleticism of Ryan Tannehill. The rollout, the bootleg, the movement plays, which is a big element of this offense. And what I did not evaluate and assess was the fact that Jay Cutler made those plays wearing a red jersey, which means that he wasn't under pressure, nobody was hitting him. Every throw was thrown with his foot properly set, and the ball hit its mark and hit its target. Well, in a real game where you're basically under pressure and people are hitting you and breaking your ribs and concussing you, a good percentage of those throws are going to be thrown off my back foot.
Yeah.
And it is what it is.
And sometimes when you got a guy who's been in in the NFL for a decade, you just think he's going to handle those things a little bit better than I think Jay Cutler's handled them this year.
He played a season too long. Is playing squeamish, whether you want to blame it on his age, the fact that he was retired, the offensive line, it doesn't matter. But a squeamish Jay Cutler isn't a very good Jay Cutler.
All right, next question from Gareth. How long will it take to draft a new team?
It generally takes about 3 seasons to draft a new team.
Okay.
If you just put your draft picks and then rookie free agents in there, probably you get 10 a year. That's 30 players. So, can this Dolphins team draft a new team with behind Chris Greer and Mike Tannenbaum? Yeah, but it's going to take a while. However, based on what I've seen this season, and if things don't improve, and let's say the Dolphins win 4 of their final 6 games, I'm leaning towards a complete reset of the roster. Not management, not the decision makers, not the GM, not the head coach, but this roster, it's fundamentally flawed. Adam Gase has complained for 2 years that they're not grasping my offense. I've got to dumb it down. Okay? That's something that you got to assess. Offensive line obviously needs to be rebuilt.
Right.
Let's be real about it. Defensive line, they're aged. They're playing poorly in the second half of the season. No pressure. It's not stopping the run anymore. 109 rushing yard, 110 really, because 109.9. Let's round that up. It's 110 rushing yards per game. Linebackers, which I loved at the beginning of the season. As the season continues on, and guys like Kiko Alonso continue to wear down, the play has been going, meh. And the secondary. Oh, the secondary, which people have praised and loved, and it's young players, Cordrea Tankersley and Xavier Howard. They're the second worst secondary in the entire NFL. 3 interceptions, no real pass deflections, opposing quarterbacks completing 67% of their passes, and opposing quarterbacks have a 104.3 cumulative passer rating. That means every time you play a quarterback, he's playing like Tom Brady because your secondary can't cover.
And the guy wearing red and pewter last week was not Tom Brady.
Ryan Fitzpatrick, but he did an efficient job
Yes,
doing what he does. Sometimes that's all you need when you're facing a bad secondary.
All right, you are watching X's and Omar presented by Gulfstream Park. We are here down in Hallandale Beach. It is a gorgeous time of the year to be here. Lots of great places to stop and eat, even if it's just to have a little snack. Le Macaron, French pastries across the way, Haagen-Dazs over here. All sorts of great places for you to come and eat and really just hang out.
Don't forget the Christmas tree, man. It's a beautiful Christmas tree. Santa's going to be unseating us soon.
Oh, yeah, we're getting kicked out.
We're getting kicked out. We're
moving to the other side, but
we're getting kicked out from our spot because of Santa, but it's okay because it's about the holiday season. I might sit on Santa's lap too. Why can't I have a picture with Santa?
That's fine. You can have a picture. That's fine. Okay, so
I didn't have one as a kid. Why deny me that?
Why you didn't have? Oh, we're digging deep now. How did that make you feel that you haven't had a chance to sit on Santa's lap yet?
I heard it was always itchy, so I was okay with it. But
Itchy?
Itchy.
Were you one of those that you just freaked out whenever you saw it, or your parents didn't want to make you wait in line, or what?
Yeah, we're not line people.
Not line people.
We're not line people.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so now there's 6 games left of this season.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we got to keep working for another month and a half.
Hey, I don't mind. I don't mind. You know, this is an important stretch of the season for us because we're going to get to evaluate what is salvageable. Mm-hmm. Do you have a back that can be a 1,000-yard runner? Or are you going to have...
We're not exactly sure yet. Maybe.
Is there a tight end here worth keeping? Because Julius Thomas is $6.5 million. I don't know about all that. Offensive line, what pieces can we build on? Is Ted Larson reliable enough, consistent enough? And then Mike Pouncey. Can Mike Pouncey get back to the level of the Mike Pouncey that we knew? Defensive line. You know, what pieces are aging to the point where they need to be replaced? And Charles Harris.
Will he make a play? Can he make a play?
He's made one.
He's made
one.
He made one.
He's made one. 10 games, he's made one.
He's made one.
So here's my situation. As a Dolphins columnist, I have to explain to people why they're losing, why this isn't the same team that you saw last year, why it looks like this franchise and organization's regressing. And in Wednesday's Sentinel, I wrote a column about that, really just doing an analysis on why this team is mediocre, because you could say what you want to say about it. The Dolphins are mediocre.
Yeah. Or a little worse.
I don't know if they're in the bad realm. If they had played a good game all season and still wasn't good enough to win, then I'd say, okay, you're bad.
Yeah.
They haven't played a good game yet.
No.
Let's start
with their wins are closer to being losses than their losses are closer to being wins.
Absolutely. That's an excellent way to put it. Let's start with the problems. Let's start with where it all begins. In the first half, you're contributing 5 points. The first half all season. Mm-hmm. Opponents are averaging 13, nearly 14 points in the first half all season. That means you enter the second half
down 9,
trailing and got to play hurry up and got to, you don't close that margin in the fourth quarter. All I'm trying to do is just finish out the game, eat clock.
Mm-hmm.
How does that play to the strengths of your defense, which is your pass rush? It doesn't.
Not at all.
Okay, then we go to the offensive line. To me, they're the root of the cancerous elements on this team. Inconsistent, struggled just about all season. They played a little bit better from a pass protection standpoint the last 3 weeks, primarily with Ted Larson in there. But what about that run game? Getting to problem number 3, can you consistently get put your team in 3rd and 6 or better by gaining 4 yards on either down 1 or down 2? That hasn't been the case all season.
How about if you have 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1? Can you get a yard? That'd be kind of nice.
Absolutely.
To know you could do that.
No question about it. And then let's get to the secondary. 3 interceptions all season. Only one team has fewer. As I told you, 104.3 passer rating. Only the Oakland Raiders have a worse secondary in terms of opposing quarterbacks' passer rating than you do. Oakland Raiders realize they got to rebuild their entire secondary. So what does that mean you have to do if you're a Dolphins organization? Red zone defense. When teams get into the red zone, they're generally being very efficient in terms of punching it in for a touchdown. That doesn't help you win games. And then penalties. Another thing that's like an anchor. The Dolphins are playing football. You know those weights that people tie to their ankles?
Sure.
And those 5-pound weights, and then they go run or whatever. Dolphins are playing football in 10-pound weights every single game, 5 on each ankle, and it's slowing them down. Yeah. It's preventing them from being the team they have the potential to be.
2nd most penalties in the NFL right now. So that's what's really interesting, and I think it all needs to settle in, because we're going to talk till the next season starts, like we always do, about the quarterback.
Yeah.
And those are 10 things that you just said, and we did not mention the quarterback.
Lack of big plays. He's on that list too.
He's on the list.
He's on the list.
But there are other things, 10 other things, that are as much of a problem as the guy under center.
Absolutely. It is a problem. I don't know if it gets fixed this season. Hell, when Ryan Tannehill gets back, I don't know if it gets fixed next season. Right now, Adam Gase has this reputation as a QB whisperer. Ryan Tannehill perked up a little bit, but that wasn't the best ball that he played in throughout his career. Jay Cutler, Adam Gase got this job because he cleaned up Jay Cutler's game. Well, it doesn't look so clean anymore. Yeah. And then, you win games with Matt Moore, but your insistence on not turning over the team to Matt Moore hints that, hey, you don't want that challenge. You don't want that challenge of coaching the best out of Matt Moore. We are where we are.
So that brings us to our next question from Luke. What does Adam Gase need to learn from this season? What's the most important thing he needs to come out of this with?
Well, if you know Adam Gase or you dealt with him, you realize he's got a twinge of arrogance to him.
Sure.
People mistake arrogance a lot of times for confidence. I mean, confidence a lot of times for arrogance. But no, this is arrogance. I think he's got to understand that he's not the smartest man in the room all the time. And that some of these issues that this team is having, poor execution from the tight end, inconsistent play from the quarterback, troublesome play from the offensive line, those are all on you. Yeah. Based on your decision, based on your stance, you didn't believe that resources need to be spent on an offensive lineman, so you waited till the 5th round to draft Isaac Asiata. You signed Ted Larson thinking, he'll do. He's fine. 3 years, $5 million, it's good enough. Well, has this offensive line been good enough?
No. We'll just move Laremy Tunsil over to left tackle. He'll be as good over there as he was at guard. No questions.
I don't even know if he's as good as he was at guard.
He was definitely not as good as he was at guard. Yet. It hasn't been good.
It has not been good. You got to humble yourself, Adam Gase. You got to realize you're not the smartest man in the room, and that you got to listen to your talent evaluators.
All right, next question from Jersquall. Adam Gase wants to win. He wants players he trusts, players who show up on time, unselfish, committed, disciplined. What else can Coach do to get the culture he is trying to establish?
Well, that's a good question from one of my favorite followers. I appreciate Jericho all the time. He makes me cool little avatars. The biggest thing to me that this team needs to learn is who is here to stay, who's buying in. Every time something doesn't go your way, you can't trade or cut a player. Right. You can't keep getting rid of talent. And I think that a perfect example of this is going to be Jarvis Landry. Jarvis has got 6 more games of purgatory in terms of where he has no control over where he is and no control over how much money he makes. 6 more games. and then you shall be handsomely rewarded if you stay. Now, the question is, can Jarvis buy in? Is he buying in? Is he giving out, putting out? I would argue that he is. If you looked at that Damian Williams run, 60-something yards. Damian Williams' run was for 69 yards. If you look at the end of that clip, Jarvis Landry is killing himself, running downfield, catching up to Damian Williams to provide a block that gets him an extra 10 yards. Jarvis is buying in. What about everybody else? And are you going to reward the players who buy in? That is a cultural thing that you have to figure out. And to me, last year you used to let Jarvis Landry set the tone for the team. Has that happened this year?
Well, I don't know if Jarvis Landry has wanted that.
Oh, he wants the ball.
But he wanted to set the tone for the. What do you mean set the tone for the team?
Offensively, you use Jarvis Landry to spark your team, get them emotionally going.
Sure.
Nah, that's not happening, in my opinion. Also, another thing that hasn't happened that I find a little perplexing. Last year, this team made a mistake. My bad. That's on me. Started from the coach, went to the coordinators, then it moved down to the players. Everybody. Things go wrong, my bad.
Right.
I take ownership for it. I'm going to fix it. Don't really hear that this year.
You know, I asked a captain about that after the game yesterday. Where's that accountability? And he said, we need to get back to that. That was his exact words. We need to get back to that. So they know it. Next question from John McKenzie. How many years realistically till this team can compete? And will it be with Adam Gase?
Teams work in 3-year cycles. Don't know if you figured that out by now, Dolphin fans, but 3-year cycles. New coach, invest in what you got, draft, free agency, pivot. The question is, when you do pivot, which this is supposed to be pivot season, does it work out? When it doesn't work out, you start another 3-year cycle. In my mind, based on what I've seen this season, unless the Dolphins get to at least 8-8, this is a rebuild, reset, start over, keep building to 3 years. So to me, that means Adam Gase has at least 2 more years. He could do whatever he's going to do this year. Next year, he can go 4-12. Doesn't matter.
Right.
He's got at least 2 more years to, if I'm going to reset his team now, I'm resetting it and judging him based on 2019. No offense to all those who want Adam Gase's head on a platter, but we've kind of been there, done that with head coaches, which we already know Steve Ross is not quick to fire.
Sure.
Neither GMs. He's not quick to fire. He gives them the resources that they have to be good, be competitive, to compete, and then he assesses it. Adam Gase needs to reset this roster, or the Dolphins need to reset this roster. Adam Gase needs to take a back seat and let his executives and team personnel people reset the roster, then coach it to the best of their ability. So I'm not judging that until 2019.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the Patriots.
Yeah.
This is X's and Omar presented by Gulfstream Park. And they're just doing what they do all the time. Again,
rough start
Tom
for them.
Brady's 40.
Yep.
And they've got all sorts of running backs back there, retread guys, and
they got
receivers going
they
down.
Got
doesn't
4
matter.
running backs, 3 tight ends, 2 slot receivers, 2 deep threats. Yeah.
I mean,
it's fun.
It's so many weapons. What do you see any slippage out of Brady? I mean, is this as good as he's ever been?
He's got 110 quarterback rating, completing 68.7% of his passes, 22 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Yeah, that's probably about as good as he's ever been.
Yeah.
And let's not pretend like his weapons are that great or his defense is that great. I argue, and people get mad, furious mad at me that Brady's a better quarterback than Dan Marino. It's sacrilegious to say in South Florida. Brady's got the rings.
A handful of them.
Handful of them. He doesn't need a defense. Dan Marino needed a defense. Doesn't need a running game. And yet, They're just dynamically good. Now, you could argue that, hey, he's coached by one of the greats. Wasn't Dan Marino coached by one of the greats?
I was gonna say, you can't argue that both Don Shula is better than Bill Belichick and Tom Brady is better than Dan Marino. You cannot. I'm sorry, that Dan Marino is better than Tom Brady. You can't argue for both of those things.
I'm not really, yeah.
As a Dolphins fan, you just can't win that argument.
It's in your division, so it makes you feel bad. And they're the gold standard of what this league is, and it makes you feel bad. But the reality is, it's efficient, it's effective. The beauty of the Patriots, and I always enjoy watching them, I always have this obsession and fascination with them, is they evolve, they morph into whatever they need to be each and every week. They attack your weaknesses.
Yeah.
Like, if you're Chase Allen, and they just promoted Neville Hewitt to the 53-man roster. Neville has more starting experience than Chase Allen, so maybe they did that knowing that Bill Belichick is building an entire game plan on keeping Chase Allen on the field
right.
and attacking him.
Yeah.
You got to know, you got to go into Patriots week figuring out, okay, what are my weaknesses? Doing a self-scout. Well, you can't cover with your linebackers. Your secondary's toast. Your red zone defense is trash. You can't get any pressure on quarterbacks unless you have just a ridiculous lead. And you can't run the ball. And like, man, this is just you can't protect the quarterback. Wow, that's a lot of things for Bill Belichick to attack.
Yeah.
I'm blitzing. I'm attacking your linebackers. I'm really going deep with your wide receivers on your cornerbacks, and I'm manning up on your wide receivers because you can't hit a big play.
Well, you know what? Belichick's going through the same kind of quandary because you know what he always likes to do is take your strength out of the game, and he's going to be thinking about what is the Dolphins' strength right now. So you see, it's the same kind of quandary on both sides there, Omar.
I would give Jarvis extra attention.
Give Jarvis extra attention. All right.
Give Jarvis extra attention, and then let them beat me with everything else, and adjust from there. If Devontae Parker on his bad wheel can beat me, okay. But I'd physically harass your quarterback. Yeah. However, I will say that would be my approach as a Dolphin, as a Dolphins coaching staff. Hell, you're probably not gonna beat him. You're probably not gonna beat him. But you do face them another time later on in the month, and maybe, just maybe, you can crack some Tom Brady ribs.
Oh, you're going to go for an injury, huh? You're going to try to injure Brady.
I don't get why teams don't try to rough him up. It's hard to hit him.
True. I mean, that's obviously
It's
true.
hard.
Right.
He's a 40-year-old quarterback.
I'm betting most teams are trying to do that.
I don't know about that.
No, you don't think so? All right. Let's take our next question from Jareth.
I'd be hitting him with like a 7-man blitz. And yeah, he's going to pick you apart, but I'd do it consistently. I'd be the Ravens.
Actually, I would say that's a good point, is that if you're Bill Belichick, you're saying, I'm not going to let Ndamukong Suh beat me. That's really kind of, I'm not going to let Ndamukong Suh touch my quarterback. It's really probably the only thing you're going into.
That's the only game plan you go into.
Yeah.
And everybody, this is the best way to defend Cam Wake, when he does that bend and twist.
Yeah.
I learned this from Bill Belichick. Just have your offensive lineman fall on him. It's not holding.
Huh.
Just have your offensive line fall on him.
Huh.
And it works. Nate Solder used to do it
all
all game, and Patriots are masters at it. Huh. He bends, he gets low, he tries to turn the corner. I'm just using my body weight to take you down with me. It works. It's genius. It's Bill Belichick.
Next question from Jareth. Does this team have a bright future with the current young talent on the roster, or are we doomed to be average at best going forward?
Well, really, the important thing is to take an assessment of your young talent and where is it. I'd argue that Ryan Tannehill isn't young anymore, okay? Let's go to the tight ends. Everybody's old.
Yes.
Let's keep it moving from there. Running back. Do you feel confident and comfortable enough in Kenyon Drake moving forward, because he's the only guy under contract? I certainly haven't seen enough to say yes. And then your wide receivers, Kenny Stills and Devontae Parker, the only guys under contract. You know, are either of them difference makers? I'd say no. That would be my vote. Jarvis Landry is your difference maker. And then on defense, Rashad Jones, Kiko Alonso, Xavier Howard, Cordrea Tankersley. I've already addressed the secondary. It's been hold your nose bad. And, you know, Kiko Alonso, have you liked what you've seen the last 3 weeks? So the answer is no. You don't have much young talent to work with. Sorry.
Sorry, Jareth.
Sorry.
The next question is from Bruce Wayne. Maybe that Bruce Wayne? I'm not sure. Do you see Jarvis Landry sticking around for next season, or is he out? At this point, I believe the Dolphins have lost their emotional leader.
I don't agree with you. I don't think he's emotionally checked in as much as he should be. But when you make me play for $900,000 when I deserve $10 million, I'm not really gonna be your friend. I'm just not.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go the extra mile for you because I'm just not.
Yeah.
You're treating me like I'm just a employee number 14, as opposed to the face of your franchise and the heart of your team and your offense. I'm treating you like I'm employee number 14. Now, does that mean that Jarvis Landry is going to leave the Dolphins? No. You know, circumstances for players always factor in. One, in-state taxes. You don't have any here. That means Jarvis Landry is going to make more money here unless he goes to Dallas or Seattle. Now, you know, Jarvis has a little baby girl whose mother lives here.
Right.
Hey, I know why I've still stayed around in South Florida. I've got a son.
Yeah.
Those are things that are factors. So circumstances, but Jarvis is not going to take $1 less than what he believes he's worth. And the way that I've done my calculations, that's $10 million. That's $30 million guaranteed. So whoever's offering him a $30 million guaranteed contract is probably going to get his services.
God, are the Dolphins offering him that? No. Next question from Jordan. Is the D-line underperforming, or are they just simply overrated?
I think they're old. And what happens with old players is that when they get an injury, it takes them longer to come back or it takes them longer to play at 100%. And Ndamukong Suh's been battling a knee injury. I doubt he'll practice today because he gets 1 day off a week during practice. And he's put out there, but is Ndamukong Suh playing at 100%? No, I'd probably say he's playing at 80%. A lot of times he gets moved by one defender now, which just doesn't happen normally. So I have to think that that's injury. Andre Branch is playing with an injury. William Hayes is playing with an injury. Those are 3 of your rotational players that primarily are important in running downs, and they're not there or not playing at a high level. That's why you're allowing 109 rushing yards per game now.
Not a good week to be banged up on the D-line going into New England. So what do you think?
Clearly, I'm not picking a win.
Are you picking a cover?
I predicted the Patriots would win 28-21. So that means I am picking a cover.
Wow. Okay.
Dolphins getting their respect, baby. 17.5 points is too much.
I'm picking a cover too. I'm taking the Patriots 37-24 winners. 37-24.
You have the belief that the Patriots will put up 37 points, and then you have the belief that the Dolphins will score 24?
I made that thinking that Matt Moore was playing quarterback.
Oh, okay. All right. There's a difference. Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching X's and Omar, presented by Gulfstream Park. If you're watching us live, you can hang with us for X's and Omar Overtime. We'll take your questions on either on Twitter or in the chat. So just send them to us using the hashtag XOmar, and also we'll find them, and make sure you listen to the podcast. X's and Omar, wherever you can find it, wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you so much for watching. Welcome to X and Omar Overtime, presented by Gulfstream Park. You ready for these?
Absolutely.
These are all your questions that you've sent us live during the chat. Our first one comes from Eternal Optimist. True or false, Jay Fiedler is the best Miami Dolphins quarterback since Dan Marino?
I'm going to have to go with false on that. I would say that Chad Pennington has been better. I think that's the best since Dan Marino. And I would kind of make the argument that Ryan Tannehill is kind of on par with Jay Fiedler, even though he led the team to more playoff. Fiedler led the team to more playoff wins. Tannehill's not special, but Jay Fiedler wasn't either. Jay Fiedler had a better team. Tannehill's kind of propped up a mediocre team. So got to give the edge to Chad Pennington and then Ryan Tannehill.
Fair. For Miami Joe, what did Stephen Ross believe Tannehill was the guy? Why did Stephen Ross believe Tannenbaum was the guy for president of football operations, considering he was such a failure with the Jets?
Well, really, you have to look at the situation where they were in, where you had to hire Dennis Hickey, your fourth choice, to be your GM that 1 year. Then, okay, let's give him the benefit of the doubt, but when he came in, it was clear and evident that the job was a little bit over his head. So Tannenbaum did the best thing that he could. I mean, not Tannenbaum. They brought Tannenbaum in as a consultant, and as a consultant, he impressed them in terms of the projects that he did and how he ran things and the management and the decision and had more contacts, and here we are.
I'll be honest, I think I've totally blown Dennis Hickey out of my memory box.
Yeah.
That's pretty good that you brought that you could pull. It wasn't that long ago, but it was so
hey, man,
forgettable. I think he was easy to just
It is forgettable, but you know, it's part of the abyss era of the Miami Dolphins, and you can't forget it. You gotta. It's there. It was present. It existed. You can't wipe it from your memory. Here's a question from Griswold 307.
Okay.
What would you say to those questioning Gase as a head coach? You, give me an answer.
I think the biggest thing is that last year we saw Adam Gase be a good coach. We saw Adam Gase make smart decisions. We saw Adam Gase push the right buttons. We saw what could happen because he led what was a team full of mediocre talent into the playoffs. He's still a young man, his second year as a head football coach, and obviously some mistakes have been made. I'm willing to forgive the mistakes that he's made this year and give him more chances to see if he can get the right magic again and be even better than he was last year, because now I think he's a smart guy. I think he can figure it out, and that you hate to use these excuses, but there's so many things that went wrong this season right at the beginning of it. You can't use those excuses in the moment, but when you look in the big spectrum of things, you can't give up on the guy when he had one really good year and one bad year that had all sorts of crazy things happen to him.
Crazy. Just the amount of distractions and side stories and subplots and things that have taken away your focus. It's been crazy. I mean, it's been, Ray Malaluga last week. We didn't even talk about him in the show.
Yeah.
Who the hell stays, hell, I've been to 11 a couple of times. I go, I'm not always in the strip club.
Right.
I go to the rooftop, just saying. Yeah, it's a spot you go after hours after a club spot.
But
come on, bro.
You're an NFL player.
You prep practice the next day. You're going straight from I believe Brandon Marshall and Vontae Davis fought about that.
Yeah.
Showing up to practice drunk and hungover. Straight from the club. They literally fought going into a Kansas City game at 11 o'clock, because that's just not acceptable. That's not what you expect from your leaders. And Ray Malaluga wasn't a leader. He was a stopgap player, made the mistake. Clearly he paid for it. Cost him his job. They don't have to pay his guaranteed contract because he violated his contract. So they saved some money, and they just promoted Neville Hewitt, which is where the money's going to go to. But, come on, bro. Why does this keep happening to the Miami Dolphins? And I have to think part of the reason is because Adam Gase has so few rules.
Yeah.
And worked last year, but when you run a loose ship and you come into the season, yeah, you should expect everybody to be a grown man and mature. But
You know,
it doesn't always be. It all isn't always the case.
Yeah, I mean, look at Firster. You know,
I mean, what can
it's a grown man. All I'm saying is, you handle yourself in a different way, and we don't. I mean, I don't know everything that went into Firster and all that stuff, but generally speaking,
Yeah.
I think you handle yourself a different way when the rules are stricter, and I think. Let's just say Gase didn't know that any of that stuff was happening. But you know what? If he did walk in on that,
There's no way you walk in.
He's
Listen,
not kicking him out of the team.
listen.
Firster probably didn't think that he would be kicked off the team for getting caught for doing something like that.
Well, if he didn't, oh please, anybody would. You send yourself doing blow inside a team meeting room to a actress. You know.
I don't know. We don't need to dig all
But
that
this
stuff
all
up
wouldn't
again.
happen if they
This all
weren't
dig up-
displaced in California because of a hurricane for a week.
Sure. I mean, it could have still happened in somewhere else.
Hey,
but
I would think ladies of the night in Miami are a little bit more discreet.
okay.
I'm just saying.
We are digressing. We are digressing. Craig wants to know, what's the issue with Miami special teams, specifically the lack of returns?
No good returners. Jarvis Landry's out there, but do you really want Jarvis Landry doing returns? Jakeem Grant, and I hate to put his name in my mouth because it just always comes up and blows him up in my face because some people are so sensitive. But he's what, 5'7", 165 pounds? How much does it take to bring him down once you touch him? This is the NFL, which is why I never got the fascination, curiosity, obsession with Jakeem Grant as a return specialist or gimmick player. Like, he's this big.
Little guy. He's
Like, everybody can lay him out.
yeah.
So everybody on a football team, on an NFL football team. So all these sensational returns that everybody was expecting, where are they?
And it's not like he's been on the field at all on offense anymore.
Yeah. Here's a question from Ken. Does Adam Gase's ego get in the way of making the best decision for this franchise? No. And the reason I say no to that question is because he's benched Julius Thomas.
Yeah.
He's demoted Julius Thomas. There have been changes made to the offensive line. But two things I've learned about the NFL from my decade of covering it is that, one, it's about who you know, not what you know, who you know. That's rule number one in the NFL. And number two is everybody has a massive ego in this league. And that's how you kind of get to become a head coach. You have a massive ego. Adam Gase is the offensive coordinator, play caller of the NFL's most efficient and potent offense in the history of the league. You don't think I get an ego?
Sure.
Just saying it?
No question about it.
No question
You're
about
right. But it's there are some things that just aren't working here in 2017.
And go back to the drawing board, figure it out, and keep it moving.
Tim wants to know, do the Dolphins win again this season?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I know I
Pick
shook
one.
my head.
Denver at home?
Denver at home.
One of the Buffalo games?
One of the Buffalo games. There you go. So that's two right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about
Yeah.
it. That's
All right,
about what I'm
2,
predicting.
6 and 10? Okay.
I think those are games that they'd be favored for.
All right. Oh, I don't know. If you're an underdog at home to Tampa, I don't think they're going to be a favorite at home to Denver in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
It might
Denver's
depend
playing-
on how Paxton Lynch looks this weekend.
Tampa's right back. You know, Tampa needs just opportunity to get on their feet. Denver's a much better team, but they seem to be spiraling out of control.
Next question from Ian. True or false, Gase stops stubbornly playing his buddies, Julius Thomas, Jay Cutler, Jermon Bushrod, etc., and see what the young guys have at some point?
No. Gase is no.
No.
Gase, listen, fans are obsessed about seeing what's next and what the alternatives are. and so are some media members, because I would like to see Matt Moore be the starting quarterback for the Dolphins. He's never, ever, ever, ever been given that opportunity. It's been forced on him because of injuries.
Right.
But nobody said, you know what, Matt Moore, you're my guy. I want to invest in you. I want to build you up. I want to polish up your game. Everybody's been like, all right, well, I guess it's got to be you, Matt.
Who's the next
come
guy?
on. Yeah.
Put down the clipboard. All right.
Yeah, come on, Matt. Let's figure this out. Nobody. And trust me, Matt is not complaining. He has made I believe it's between $25 and $27 million in his career being a backup. He's been a Dolphins backup since 2011. As long as he plays it right and says all the right things, he'll probably continue to be a backup here in Miami. Could be worse places to live.
Could be worse places to live.
Could be worse places to live.
Okay, Walter wants to know, did this season reveal that last season's success was just smoke and mirrors?
Yes. Yes, because you had a coach who evolved into an offensive identity that he wasn't really comfortable with. And then he was like, I guess I'll do it again. And he never got comfortable with it. Offense was bad, and he was just like, screw that. Forget it.
Yes, I will say, though, to that point, that it still does take some guile and some intelligence to win NFL games with smoke and mirrors. And some teams do that, and maybe the Dolphins had to do that last year, but that's not a reason to say give up on Adam Gase because he won basically with smoke and mirrors. Sometimes those smoke and mirrors were planned,
Yeah.
and therefore he deserves credit for that.
They created a culture where they played clutch football, and they hadn't done that in the decade past. Now the question is, can they get back to that culture? And I'm curious. I don't know the answer to that.
We good?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for watching X's and Omar. Oh, actually, wait. We have live questions? Live questions.
I have one question.
Okay.
Out of 100%, if you could break down who's responsible for the disappointing season, could you break it down between management, coaches, and players?
All right. Management, coaches, and players. We got like a pie chart
Ah.
of disappointment. Pie chart of disappointment. It's like a burnt pumpkin pie with like tasteless crust. It's just a pie chart.
I got
of
my pie carved
disappointment.
up. It's
Okay.
Thanksgiving
We're gonna,
episode.
We're gonna
so
cut it in 3 different.
Yes. I am going with a 40% portion to the coaches, not just Adam Gase, but defensive coordinator Matt Burke, special teams coach Darren Rizzi. I know Rizzi can do a better job than he's done.
Okay.
And Matt Burke, you still got to prove yourself.
Right.
So 40% goes to coaches.
Okay.
Then I'm going to split the rest of the 60 on management. We'll let Adam Gase do what he wanted to do.
Sure.
And re-sign all these players to money a little bit higher than what they were worth, but because he wanted continuity, how well the continuity play out. And then some of the decisions that management made haven't always panned out.
Right.
And then I'm going to give 30% to the players because
So 30, 30, and 40.
30, 30, and 40. Players are on the field. Players are the one that's making all these penalties. Players are the one that's not executing the offense. Players are the one who can't run the hurry-up offense. Players are the one that's not getting the job done in red zone and having a defensive breakdown. So I'm going 30, 30, 40.
All right. One more.
It's been a bit of a down year for Cameron Wake. Does he hit that wall, or is it snap count related? What's up with him?
What's the down reasons for the down year for Cam Wake?
Let's start with the fact that he's 34.
Sure.
Bodies don't recover nor hold up the way that they usually do.
He had 6 sacks in his first 4 games.
When the body was fresh. And I think also the situation that he's not on the field in running downs. And so they need a lead for Cam Wake to be at his best, or they at least need a close game for Cam Wake to be at his best. You haven't had close games, and you haven't had leads.
All right. That's going to do it. X and Omar, presented by Gulfstream Park. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back here next week.